When a prospect or a client just stops responding, I mean, right in the middle of your communication together, right in the middle of a project, it is so frustrating, and it takes a lot of time to follow up with them, wait for a response, not get one, have to follow up again. But worse is all of this, the mind chatter of all the things that we start to wonder and take it personally about why they're not actually following up with us. I mean, what did we do? What did we say? Did they not like our work? Did they contact someone else and start working with someone else? What happened? Oh, I know it's got to be my price. I knew I shouldn't have charged that much. You see, most of what we start to think really actually isn't the reality of what's happening on that prospect or client's end. So we need to spend a lot less time in that chatter zone and more time actually following up with them to make sure that we can get a response. So today I want to share with you that if you have a prospect or a client who is not responding to you, how you can handle it so that you actually get a response, and even better, how you can work to prevent these situations from happening in the first place. So let's start off with a prospect. You've worked hard to get a lead coming in, you started talking to them, and they just stop responding. Now, depending on how I've been communicating with them, whether this is via phone or email, I like to follow up in that same manner. I like to follow up with a message that is short and to the point, because these are business owners. They're busy. They have a lot going on. They are wearing many hats. They're trying to grow their business, and they're contacting you because they believe that this is one step in helping them do that. But it still takes time for them to do. So if they are running low on time and they can't figure out how to just schedule this all in, they don't have a lot of time for following up. So that's why we want to make sure our messages are short and to the point to give us the best chance of response. So usually follow up using language around how I'm going to be able to take something off their plate, how I'm going to be able to help them save time, make money, be able to earn more time back in the future. And these are things that all help get a business owner to respond. But definitely think back to the conversation that you had with that prospect and about why they're actually reaching out to you in the first place, like what's going on for them, so you can tie that goal of theirs into that conversation, even if you haven't gotten really specific on it, because that will remind them why they want to talk to you. Now, if that doesn't work and they're not responding to you, the next step that I take is I send them an email just saying, hey, I haven't heard back from you and I want to know where you're at. Do you actually want me to continue following up with you? And then I give them a multiple choice answer. We got A, B, and C. So let's say in this example that I'm working with a pastry chef. So A is going to be, yes, I still want to take my pastry products online and I'm ready to schedule a call. B is, yes, I am ready to take my pastry products online, but I just don't have the time. And C is, no, I no longer want to take my pastry products online. And I ask them just to simply respond with a letter. That is it, A, B, or C. And that way I know exactly where they're at. If it's A, well, great. Now I'm gonna send them a super short email, just, hey, here is my calendar link, pick a good time for you. And if they answer B, that yes, they really want this, but they don't have time, well, you see, now I know how to better communicate with them, because now I can say, well, let's just get on a 15-minute call. In this call, we're gonna cover A, B, and C, and this is gonna help me figure out how we can best put time back into your pocket. So that way we're really speaking to what is the biggest issue right now for them. And then C, well, if they're not interested, well, they're not interested, and that's okay. But now you're not gonna waste any more time following up with them. But let's say now you are dealing with a client who is actually in the middle of a project and they stop responding. Now, this is a little bit more difficult if you haven't had these conversations up front. So I'm gonna kind of give you what I do, but this is something you have to start putting in place in your business. So if you have a client who is not responding, well, we need to make sure that up front, when we get a new client on board, that they understand how communication is going to work, what medium we're going to be using. This could be communication through the project management software, which I like. This can be through email, phone, whatever it is that is part of your process and how you do things. But you want to make sure that they know how they are supposed to be responding to you and when it is going to be required. So you see, all of this I actually include in my proposal language. And I don't just include it and ask them to sign it. I actually, before they sign it, review all of the terms with them, including the part about communication, about feedback, about keeping the project on track. So now what happens in the event that a client ever stops responding, I am going to follow up with them using the communication that we've agreed upon. In my instance, we're going to be using the project management system, and I'm going to be professional yet firm, reminding them that we have a specific date that we are aiming for, and we really want to work to keep this project on time, and just let them know that you're here to support them. Is there anything that you can do to help them? But you need to understand what is going on in order to be able to move forward with the project. Now, if they don't respond to that, that is then where I start to bring up the terms a little bit and reminding them that if we don't hear back, we're not unable to continue with the project, then we are going to need to move this either to a wait list or to the next available slot that you have, depending on how you set things up. You say, this is how we can keep projects and clients on track, letting them know that you have specifically reserved this time frame for them, and then beyond that, well, that belongs to someone else. So this is why it's very important, because you've dedicated your time and attention completely to their business. Now, if you still don't hear back from them, this is where then you do need to follow up with them to let them know that you have now moved them to either the wait list or that they're going to need to contact you in order to be rescheduled. But do make sure that you are taking deposits for your work up front. If you are doing web design, don't start the project without a deposit. Don't move on to the second phase of your work without that deposit being completed, because that way, in the event that they stop responding or they just never end up responding, you have already been paid for that portion of your work and you're not going to move on to the next. So if you are dealing with a client, the absolute best way to prevent these from happening is making sure that you have these discussions up front and that you are documenting it. Can't have just one. You got to make sure that both of those are in place. And when it comes to a prospect, if you are talking to them on the phone, you always want to schedule the next step. Okay, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to do it 24 hours from now, 48 hours from now. But you want to keep things in the forefront of their mind and always have that next step, that next call, and don't ever walk away leaving things unended. Let me know down in the comments below if you've ever had a client who just flat out stopped communicating in the middle of a project, or prospects who just seem to wander off. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you next time.